back to the Dane and Josh show. It's a Super Monday edition. Dane sends his love. He had to miss the first one to cover an event. He'll be here a little bit later tonight. What an epic Sunday. We were able to talk to Kyle from Bad Wolves with our buddy Nick Best, World's Strongest Man. Had a chance to work with Marcus from Mudvayne. And just the hits keep on coming of interviewing of some of our most favorite people in the music industry. I've got a few, like I like to do, a couple of useless facts before I get going on tonight's episode. And today we were, I was looking over it the past week about some things that are important to bring to your attention. And there's some useless Simpson knowledge that you guys might not know from the show, The Simpsons. So a couple things you guys might not be aware of is that Mo from Mo's Tavern, if you look at his phone number, and it's on a lot of things, it's got one extra digit. It's an 8-digit phone number. Little interesting fact. The real name of comic book guy, his real name is Jeff. I won't give his last name out of respect, but his real name is Jeff. The song from Bartman was co-written by Michael Jackson himself. Pretty dope to know that one. And Krusty the Clown was actually, his muse was an actual real life Portland, Oregon TV clown back in the day. So just some useless facts that we like to bring to you guys for those of you that love Simpsons. What's not useless, in fact, is very, very amazing, is an artist we've got coming on tonight who's top of his craft, been doing it still at the top of his game after all these years. And just when you think they can't make another amazing song, they put out 5 more just gems. So speaking of which, guys, I want to get right down to it and bring on someone who's been very important to this show, Steve Jewell himself. Steve, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, buddy. How are you?
Amazing, brother. I'm so excited to have you, man. Like I said, from day one, I was telling Dane when we were prepping, and he sends his love. The first time I heard, even back in the day when I heard Rainbows, I was like, this is my band. This is my anthem. Let's go, dude. So I love it, man. You just got back from a festival, right? Recently, is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, we just played the Stillhouse Festival at the end of this previous month in Wales, England, and that was a lot of fun. First time we've done that one, to my knowledge, and headlined the night. I can't remember the band that played right before us, their band name, but it had Richie Faulkner from Judas Priest in it, so it was cool to see those guys up there just slaying it. And then we got up there and everybody, including us during our set, had the wind and the rain. And, like Taylor Swift is really trending right now. She has been for a while. I mean,
yeah.
And I know a lot of the fans, the Swifties, talk about like the rain show. So I just kind of naturally thought of that. I was like, we're kind of having like a rain.
A Swiftie moment. I got you. Yeah. That's cool, man.
Rock and roll rain show. So I loved it. It was great.
That's awesome. It's nice to see some amazing Southern gentlemen out there rocking worldwide. You know what I'm saying? So that's awesome, dude. Happy for it, man. I saw the photos and I was like, I bet that was a great time. He talked about the weather was a lot better. I'll take that over this 105 here in Kansas, man. You know what I mean?
Right. This heat's getting thick. I was looking at it today. Like Texas is getting hammered by heat waves right now.
It's crazy, man. Well, man, I'll tell you what, we've got some questions over the years that the audience, we've all kind of cultivated that we'll kind of pick your brain about. So I'm going to jump into that first question, man. Before you were known as the elite bassist, and I'm sure with the many side projects and things that a lot of artists do, musicians, before headlining festivals and just rocking our faces off for all these years, take me back to when it began, man. When did you first pick up a bass or even an instrument in your life? How old were you when you first started playing,
So I was 5 years old. It's funny. I'm one of those weird dudes that play multiple instruments. I was 5 years old when I very first started playing music. I've been around it my whole life because it's on both sides of my family. And my dad is a great guitarist. He's my favorite guitarist, musician, biased, obviously, in the world. And so what was cool, I was having a conversation kind of about this the other day. When I was I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. When I was in middle school, that's right around when YouTube came out. So kind of my age a little bit. So when I was a kid around 5, starting out, we had cassette tapes around the house, and I ironically have just that memory. I remember the first time going to the store buying CDs, and the first 2 CDs I remember having was the 20th Century Leonard Skinner record that just had all the hits on it, and Boston's first CD. So when I was 5, I started playing drums and was playing a lot at the local church that we grew up going to. And my dad played guitar and my mom sang. And we would come home from church. And I remember, I think I was close to 9 or 10 when I got my first drum set. And my grandfather seen it out for sale in someone's yard at a yard sale on the way to church one Sunday morning, and stopped and got it and surprised me with it. And so we would come home from church when I was a kid, and I would be playing drums. My dad would be playing guitar, and we'd be playing like a lot of Southern rock and classic rock, you know, from AC/DC to Leonard Skinner and Foghat and Boston, just, you know, all the good
Yeah.
essentials, the rock and roll essentials. And he would be like, a lot of times it'd be just us at the house. My mom and sister would be gone somewhere, and they would look at me and say, "No, don't tell your mom we were playing this stuff, okay?"
I love it.
So my dad, he's played music his whole life since he was a kid as well, and in bands and original bands and cover bands and stuff like that. And even to this day, anytime that I'm home and we're not busy on the road, you know, I'll go sit in with my dad and play guitar with him, or, you know, drums if he needs a drummer, and play 4 hours and get a 4 hour workout in. And, you know, I love it. But yeah, I started on drums when I was 5, you know, just playing at church and playing with my dad. And then I migrated over to guitar when I was around 11. And what was so cool for me around that age specifically, um, I had like my first, what felt like midlife crisis when I got around 11, because like I wanted to play music all the time and I was obsessed. But you know, you can't beat on a drum set, you know, like 11 o'clock at night while people are trying to sleep. So I remember pestering my dad to death, like, "Please, dude, just show me one song. Sweet Home Alabama. That's it. I won't ask anymore. Just show me this one song." That way, you know, I could at least take an electric guitar and sit on my bed at night and kind of strum, you know, not bother anybody, you know, not plugging in an amp or anything, but just was obsessed. You know, I just wanted to play music all the time. I was eat up with it. And so finally he did and stuff. So I started, you know, getting into guitar around that age. But what was kind of cool too, really cool, you know, I think every musician's kind of got that one story or one memory where they went to one of their first impactful shows where it was like, okay, you know, this is definitely what I want to do. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but this is what I want to do. You know, I want to play and make music. And ironically enough, one of those, that show specifically for me was Black Stone Cherry and the Kentucky Headhunters. And another great, some friends of ours had a band at the time called Eighth Nation that opened up. But I remember like that like was my first big local music kind of show. And you know, the Kentucky Headhunters, who's been around for years, John
Yeah.
Fred, his dad
Yeah.
plays guitar, Richard Young,
Legendary.
and his uncle Fred Young on the
Yeah.
drums. And what was cool around about around that time, I think Black Stone Cherry had been touring overseas with Hinder. I think they just did the Hinder tour, and you know, a lot of things were popping off in their career. They weren't home a lot, you know, anymore around this time. They were out, you know, conquering the world, opening for bands, and you know, on a label and all that good stuff. So, and I think it's always special too. I've kind of thought when a band kind of goes overseas and plays, and then they come back to the States or kind of come play home, you get them hot and fresh off that
Yeah.
tour or whatever. So it was kind of one of those shows, and they were just on freaking fire, and the Kentucky Headhunters was too. And at this time I was playing drums kind of still primarily, and was kind of dabbling with guitar. And I just remember watching John Fred that night and his uncle Fred, and just kind of being completely discouraged. I was like, this is two of the best drummers in the world that I've ever seen. There's no way I'll be able to, you know, get close to that, or do any. I'll keep a beat, you know, I can do
Yeah.
that, but their, you know, just their style and their uniqueness, and how they hear and feel music's just amazing. And at that time, you know, I decided to okay, I'm gonna play guitar, because you know, there's not Chris Robertson or Ben Wells or Greg Martin, you know, or Richard Young, and all these other great, amazing guitarists and musicians in general from our area. So what the cool thing about that too, you know, it was also encouraging, and it's still always been encouraging. Some of my favorite bands and music, you know, is local music from where we live. And so, you know, it was really cool. But after that kind of moment, and I was around that age, you know, I started to really get into guitar and played guitar, you know, the vast majority of my life. And I never really started playing bass. I've taught bass a lot because I've been teaching music lessons for over 10 years now. Just kind of one of those,
Yeah.
things. When I was 23, I bought my first business with a guy, Boone Froggett, who I played in Otis with at the time. And we bought a music store from some of the Blackstone Cherry guys because they had one here in town. So it's crazy. And that's initially
So cool.
how I first started teaching. It's very much a family affair.
I see that, man. That's crazy,
But
man. And all the it's like you're getting a part of it's like you're watching your heroes play, then you join them, and then like you obviously what I would say about you as a musician's musician, people knew you. You're very very big in the local scene, and then to be a part of that, dude, that's fantastic, man. That's just wow.
yeah, and I mean, even prior to that, you have those like crazy humbling moments. Like I still remember the first record that Otis done and that we put out. It was just amazing. We got a phone call a couple weeks after that from Billy Gibbons' ZZ Top, because
Okay.
our producer on the record, Greg Martin from the Kentucky Headhunters, he went in, was helping us a lot, during that time, and just kind of casually gave it to Billy Gibbons because he knew that, obviously Billy loves blues and blues rock, and Otis was, we were doing like the Southern rock, blues rock thing, and so there's a lot of influences that stimulate, from those kind of
Yeah.
two brothers. So we got them all in, but it's just crazy that you put out your first record with a band and then you get a phone call from Billy Gibbons' ZZ Top just freaking out over it, like, how did you guys make this? What guitars were you using, what microphones, all this kind of stuff. So very very cool. And but yeah, I've always played bass for like writing, for songwriting, and gave bass guitar lessons over the years, right around that time when we bought that music store, when I was 23. And even still, you know, uh, during that whole time leading up to Blackstone, joining Blackstone Cherry, I would still play bass at the house for writing, or,
Hmm.
rehearsing and giving lessons. But I've never actually played bass for a band before until joining Blackstone Cherry. And I remember telling the guys about that, and Chris and a lot of people asked me, and they were like, "You never even played bass for your dad's band before?" This is just something that a lot of us
Yeah.
do. Grew up playing music with our families and our dads. Our dads would use this to, like, okay, I need a drummer tonight, so you're gonna come play drums, or I may need a bass player, a guitar player, and we
You're
love
up. Yeah.
play music with our dads. But I was like, no, man, I never did play bass with him or anything like that. And the first time I went out with the guys playing bass, I think the exact date, matter of fact, just kind of remember those things, December 16th of 2020, we
Okay.
went out and did 3 shows in Florida with Steel Panther. And that was amazing, and a really cool time. And my first show with the guys was in Orlando, Florida, opening for Steel Panther, and Joey Fatone from NSYNC was there that night. I'll never forget, he walked up around my side of the stage, and he had this blue hat on with his initials JF, and I don't know, I just automatically
Yeah.
thought, was like, what's this guy doing with John Fred's hat? Like, he needs a hat. Hat for Fred. We got to get him on like JF like that. He did those 3 shows and came back home. And at the end of that run, after those 3 shows, I told the guys, I was like, oh, by the way, I've never played bass for anybody before or anything. And I was like, I was going to wait until the run was over and we got back home in case I sucked, and, you guys didn't kick me out on the side of the road or something. Shay wouldn't have done that, but in case I suck or something.
I'm glad it worked out, man, and you could see that. And I knew that about you, man. I know from Odin and Otis and like what you're doing with Blackstone. I had watched the internet's a great thing, man, because you can see all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And in multi bands, right? So I knew that about you. And it's funny your story. I did the same thing. I grew up playing in church, started with drums, and I always thought that was how it's supposed to be. Like you're supposed to be able to play everything, like you do, right? That's normal. Like you play bass, you play drums, you play piano. What do you need on the track, right? That kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
and a lot of times in church, maybe the drummer didn't show up with the bass player, and somebody would kind of go over to the bass, and then this one get up and play.
yeah.
You made it work. Years, the same thing. You're in the garage bands and playing with buddies in high school. You kind of hop around and find your voice on which instrument and just have fun with it.
That's so cool, man. When you think about influences too, obviously, I know your dad, you spoke about that. I see that. Influences and gigs, and man, you have a plethora. Yeah, plethora. I use that word, right? You have a big catalog of things to work with. I know with the recent festivals or things you've done from joining Blackstone, man, is there maybe a gig, if you could even say it, maybe 2 or 3 that stand out to you as being your favorite gig so far? Any band, we make them a local, Blackstone, Otis. Is there a band or a gig that stands out to you so far?
Um, Gosh, yeah, that's a great question. Playing with ZZ Top for the first time was amazing because it was Otis at the time and Blackstone Cherry and the Kentucky Headhunters, and that was a lot of fun. Um, and definitely recently opening up for REO Speedwagon and Leonard Skinner. And what's so crazy about that gig is, as a kid, I never really um kind of thought too much or hoped I'd win, like a bunch of awards or anything like that. If you win an award or Grammy and stuff like that off merit, that's amazing. Everybody in every genre of music, appreciates that. But I just remember like loving playing music with my dad and all this music that we would listen to. And I always thought it'd be so cool one day if I ever had the opportunity to maybe open up for a band, specifically Leonard Skinner, what I would think, as a kid, because it was like mine and my dad's favorite band to listen to and play their songs together. And even still to this day, like when I go sit in and play guitar, we love playing those old Skinner songs and doing the dueling guitars. And so I just even remember thinking then as a kid how awesome it would be one day if I ever had the opportunity to open up for a band like Leonard Skinner or ZZ Top and have my dad there, to have him there and get to see it side stage and meet the guys and stuff like that. Because it was crazy. It was very heavy because, Leonard Skinner's been a profound influence and had an
Yeah.
impact on me, especially because my dad. But yeah, it was heavy. I get emotional talking about it because it was
Man, it's awesome. That's awesome.
It's crazy.
Man, and I heard, man, I can definitely say Pops is your influence. Shout out to Pops. We were talking to Chris Nix from Jonathan Davis. He's Jonathan Davis from Korn's guitarist, and he said the same thing. It was like playing for your Pops is like, it's cool. You can play in front of 100,000 people, and no disrespect for that, but playing in front of mom or pops like your day, it's like I can see that, man, and just making your dad proud. And that's so, I love that story. That my dad, it's cool because I actually use some of the episodes I show my dad, and he's like, that's cool. So I just maybe a small bit of what you're feeling. I love it, man. So I'm curious, man. Obviously with you guys, you're dropping new stuff. I love it. I freaking love. Also, I know it's a little bit dated back, but I still use the anthem. I love Scream at the Sky. I know it's been a little bit, but you're putting some new stuff out. What's the next 12 months looking like for you? Maybe between your multi-band, whether it's Blackstone or is Otis going to make some more stuff? What's the next year looking like for you as an artist,
Going to be very busy. Of course, I play exclusively now with the Blackstone.
Oh, do you? Okay. Gotcha.
They went on and they've regrouped.
Understood.
And but yeah, with the new album coming out September 29th, we're going to be over in the UK doing some underplay shows and going to some record stores and doing some signings and meeting some fans and hanging out. So we're very excited about that. And yeah, we're definitely anticipating a very busy year for.
I love it.
Before, getting out on the road and hitting all over the US and different countries and, seeing all of our fans and some old fans to new fans. And
yeah,
we're very excited. So it's going to be great. It's going to be busy.
I was looking forward to the new stuff. There's not a time. It's hard when you guys, everything you do is so good. It's like you get lost in, you're one of those bands, and I mean it with all respect. There's a lot of radio friendly singles that people put out, but you're one of those bands where you can literally, I think you guys are the reason why you would buy vinyl, because you start the album and you let it go. It's hard to have that these days, but you guys still do that. Whether it's the first track or the last, it's cohesive, and there's no such thing as a bad song. Blackstone's one of those bands where you just don't make bad music, and I mean that, man. So it's incredible to see it. Hey, just which song? Let me pick from 400 great, and then we'll go live as well. Your live stuff. There's no such thing as a bad song. So you have to let me show you. And one more, I'll show my wife, and she's like, how many more songs are you going to show me? Because they're all good, right? Just going through it, right? So you guys are just so talented, man. I love it. So
thank you, man. I appreciate that. And I know the guys do too.
Yeah, man.
It's like a natural thing. I feel like in a way, just because of, the music that I think we all grew up listening to. And, I still love listening to a lot of that music today. And, I've always looked at it as an artist, kind of when you make a record, it's like making a current snapshot of your life at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And what's cool is, and I'm sure, the other guys too, along with myself, some of our favorite records are records like that, where
Mm-hmm.
it takes you on a journey process, from the first song to the very end. And, growing up as kids, especially kids in rural America and in the county, I didn't have a lot to do. A lot of us didn't have a lot to do, anything to do growing up, except dive into music and play
Mm-hmm.
music. We had video games, all that stuff too, but we were definitely eat up with music and trying to figure that out. So it's like you dive into those old cassettes and 8-tracks and records and CDs and listening to it, trying to figure out what's going on. And then as you grow as an artist, you're starting to hear different things, I feel like. And even though I've heard a song like Sweet Home Alabama, for example, a million times, I could still hear something new or catch something.
A lick, yeah.
Listen to it, from channeling different instruments, to different vocal parts and whatnot. But yeah, I think maybe a big credit to that is because of the music we just grew up listening to, and how we would listen to it, from start to finish, and figuring out the instrumentation, trying to figure out maybe vocal melodies, dissecting things. I love doing that stuff. Especially like hip hop and certain rappers and stuff, their percussiveness with their vocals, with it's like an instrument itself, drums, and then you match that with like melody. And even if you dive back into a lot of those old R&B songs and soul music, just the vocal would come up with, and how they kind of had that percussiveness as well. And then you listen to something like maybe bluegrass or country music, where it's more slower and drawn out, but there's a lot more emphasis on the melody and how you can really bend a melody and do 100 different amazing things that way, and harmonizing and stuff like that. So yeah, I think just diving into that stuff so much and being fans so much of that music we grew up with, they made kind of the records the same way, in a way where it took you on a journey, from start to finish.
I think I can tell you, man. And again, I know when I was first texting you, whether you look at my favorite of all, and again, I love everything. Let me be clear. It's like choosing between kids, right? But I love, Hell and High Water's all-time favorite song by you guys, and I love it all. But I remember I had the journey of going through stuff in my life. Songs. All right. So this Blackstone song was when I was going through this passing of a loved one. This is a highlight of my wife when I got married, right? This is when I'm going through, kind of getting past the frustration of the pandemic and everyone's just kind of wore out, right? Like different things, right? Like, okay, this my kids are in middle school now, and you can pick these things, and now I'm reciprocating your music back to our kids, and now they love it. I was a young man listening to it, and now you guys are still, the engine is moving along, and those musical franchises like Lynyrd Skynyrd and whatnot, you guys get to be that passing the torch. So ZZ Tops, now it's people like Blackstone, just keeping the tradition alive and keeping the music rocking. And so I love it, man. I literally, you'll have to stop me, dude, because I'll go on for hours. I'm telling you, my kids are tired of hearing about it, and so is probably the audience. Awesome. It's just it's how I feel. There's a segment that we do, I promise you, in interviews you guys have done, I'm almost willing to bet there's never been a segment like this. So it's a segment that we intentionally called Rapid Fire. We don't prep you for it. It's on the spot. Awesome. So
here we go.
We usually bet on these. Now they're PG. We always keep the show PG, but these are questions that are weird. Our fans are great. They give us weird, random, obscure questions, and they fuse them together. And you have to pick one. Imagine that past or present, reality. It could be people that are passed away or live. Anything's possible. So here's your first question. I've got 5 rapid ones for you, and I'll put these out on DraftKings later. No, I'm just kidding. But it's a cool little thing. You guys are on tour. You're promoting the new album, and you're on tour, and you're tasked with, a lot of times artists, and you spoke of hip hop, which is cool for a little bit, are tasked with, they do a lot of live takes, right? When you're on tour, live songs covered, it's just part of the business. But you're asked to do a live cover and make one of these 2 iconic hip hop songs Southern metal, like you guys do. So your 2 choices, you have 2. You can go with A, Whoop, There It Is, Whoop, There It Is, make it metal. Or you can go with This Is How We Do It by Montel Jordan. So you got Whoop, There It Is, This Is How We Do It, put the Blackstone twist on it. Which one are you going with?
Oh man, those are great, solid choices. What about Whoop, There It Is? I just see that being an anthem.
Yeah.
Heavy anthem, getting a crowd singing at a festival. Yeah. God,
Can you see that going? You know what I'm saying? Like you guys rocking that? That'd be awesome.
I've heard of Stranger Things and the TV.
I love it, man. I love it.
You never know.
So the next question you guys are asked to do. So both there's a big thing on live action remakes and movies and all that stuff. Okay, so going to a different take, you guys are asked to be a part of the music video for promoting the remake of these two movies. You have two choices. You can either go with the iconic remake of Free Willy. Remember Michael Jackson when Free Willy's jumping over him doing the deal? We all remember that as kids. Or you can be a part of the remake of the Lion King's soundtrack, Just Can't Wait to Be King. So Free Willy, redoing MJ's version, or Just Can't Wait to Be King. You guys got to rock it. Which one are you going with?
Man, that's a great choice. Of course, brother Ben Wells, maybe. He's a big ocean fan. He loves to see the ocean life, so he would love that. And then the other one, I could see, John Fred rocking the vein.
Yeah.
Microphone, a headset microphone, just throwing it down, baby. Throwing it down like him and Theo Vaughn. We got to get Theo Vaughn on.
That's awesome.
Let's see. I'm going to go with maybe that one because I just, the headset.
2 for 2.
Hair down.
I'm 2 for 2, baby. Let's go. I had you on that one. I did. I could just see it. Kind of like this, almost like a human cat looking thing. I could just see it. Man. Right. I love it. So next question, man. I know these are from our generation. I know we're pretty similar in age. I got a few years on you, but you get to all of a sudden you get to just be randomly. You wake up one day and you can be a part of these two movie or show universes. It's like it's real life. So you get to be planted into one of these two universes and just live your life in this. So you can be either A, you can be a part of the Matrix world. It's real life. You can just plant yourself into that. Or you can be a part of B, Miami Vice. Like you're just dropped into it, and these are both real things.
Miami Vice, baby. Give me the neon and the sunshine.
Let's go. I love it. So I'm 3 for 3. I had you on that one. I've seen some of the cool. I got that because you have a dope style, bro. Like your style when you're going, it's very, very cool. So yeah.
I love the Alex Payne shirt. That's a great record. One of my favorite records, by the way.
Yeah, dude. Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
So the Dirty Head shirt. A bunch of us.
I got you. There you go. I love it. I love the record. They're actually coming through Kansas. They just came through Kansas at a little club called The Wave. So they've been doing the club circuit, and stuff. So 2 more. You are actually called up to be. We're gonna flip the script. You're making music for other albums or other movies and all that. Now you're called up to be a part of a movie franchise, and you get to be a character. So sports is something we do a lot of. So we know that. So you can either two things. You can be a part of first one. Remake of these two movies. You can be the lead character in Friday Night Lights, the movie version, or Varsity Blues. Which one are you going with?
God, it's too good. Oh,
yeah.
God. Great movies. I'm probably going to go Friday Night Lights because I probably watched that one the most, and I love Billy Bob. Shout out to his band, Boxmasters.
Yeah, it's a great band, dude. Yeah, he's great. Yeah, he's talented.
Shout out to my buddy Kurt McKim, who plays guitar for them. They're a great band. Yeah, I remember that movie, man. Like, ironically, I think right around the time that movie came out, I was still maybe playing sports in school, maybe, or just got done playing sports and was really getting into music. But it's such a great movie.
I knew it. I had you, man. Last one. So last rapping before I transition. So we talked a lot about you covering a song, you being a part of a franchise, you being in a world. Now check this out. You guys are being honored at we're going to go ahead and preach it and call it out. You're going to be actually inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, your band. It's going to happen. And somehow we can go back in time, and these two bands, the whole bands are both alive, original members. They're going to cover one of your songs as they introduce you into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You've got 2 choices. You can have CCR cover one of your songs, or Stay With Me because of your style, or S2.EP cover one of your songs as they induct you into the Hall of Fame. Which one are you going with? Man,
I'm probably going to go S2.EP because we actually just played with them and on the Hellstorm tour. Because it goes by, so it was last summer, I think.
Scott Weiland covering you, you know what I'm saying?
We're all big S2.EP fans, so that would be really cool.
The original lineup. You know what I'm saying? The original lineup, having Scott covering for you guys and just doing your thing. That'd be crazy, huh? So,
Absolutely.
yeah, man. R.I.P. man. Yeah. Well, thank you for that, man. That's a little segment. I went 5 for 5. Hopefully, interviews you've done, you haven't had a segment like that. It's called Rapid Fire.
I haven't.
So,
That was great. I
thank you,
enjoyed
man.
it. Very
Appreciate
cool.
it, man. You're a good sport. So the last segment, man, because I appreciate you. The last segment that we transition to, and it's a little thing that we call open mic. So what this is, with whether it's our athletes, whether it's our musicians, people that entertainers, comedians that we have come on, the mindset's always the same. Everyone deserves a shot. There's a mantra talking about maybe what you've done in your life. If you could go back and tell your beginning self, maybe a story for those that want to be like you one day, maybe they want to be a rock star, an athlete. What's a mantra that you've carried with it that you could pass on to someone that wants to be like you one day,
Oh man.
or some advice, wisdom, something like that, just some words of advice, if you will.
Brush your hair and never stop listening to bluegrass. That's
Okay.
like vitamins of my life. No, I'm just kidding.
That was good.
I don't brush it. I just put it in a bun and still listen to bluegrass every day. That's a really great question. Just, especially as I've gotten older, appreciating the moment more, you know what I mean? Because a moment's kind of really all we really have in kind of hindsight. There was a Disney movie, I can't remember the name of it, but it had a really good quote talking about why the present's called the present, all that good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. It was a Toy Story. Toy Story.
Yeah, that's what it was. But you can't dwell in the past too much, and you can't over anticipate and overthink about the future too much. So, and in our business, you have so many of those special moments. It's there and then it's gone. Like when we played Royal Albert Hall, playing that. The show was only 90 minutes long. And one regard, you wished it could just keep going. You know what I mean? But you do something like that and it's over so fast. But stopping to taking care of yourself, your mind, body, and spirit, essentially finding that that balance. And it's good to work hard and set goals and be driven and all that good stuff, but also making sure that you're appreciating the moment and the time that you've got right now. Whether it's in your career, it doesn't matter, I don't think, where you're playing at or who you're playing for, that you're getting to play and because we love it and that's what we love to do, to spending time with family, spending time with friends, and just having that overall balance. That way one thing don't start to suffer to the other, and keeps everything healthy, in my opinion. But yeah, definitely appreciating the moment more and enjoying the journey. It's not a race, it's a marathon. I feel like no matter what you're really doing in life, whether it's with your health or your career or a marriage or a relationship or work, especially if you're doing meaningful work that you love to do, it's a marathon. It's not a race.
That's good, man. I think it's what you've done, and I mean it. Thank you. For music is healing. It's cathartic. The world would not be as good without music, and so what you do is powerful. I've watched you a lot, man. I love your take on things, and you're kind of big on almost kind of like letting go, moving forward, letting go of the past. Some of the stuff, even because I watch a lot of your posts, and there's something positive and refreshing. And we always say this generation of athletes and musicians are in good hands. People promoting, and again, there's a healing to your music, and there's a healing to the kind of person that you are. And I don't know what I do without music. Like whether it's bands like like you said, going back to S2.EP, or even like Skinner or ZZ Top, or now you guys, music is a integral part of life. We can't live without it. So what you do is very, very meaningful, man. I just thank you for making music for so many people that helps us get through tough times, the milestones like you talked about. We need music to celebrate those highs and those lows too, so I appreciate you more than words can say, man.
I just always felt like we're just arbiters of that. So and I've always made the comment, I don't care whose show you go to or whose music you listen to, just listen to music and go to a concert and have fun, for that essential links thing.
I love it, man.
It's amazing to get to be an arbiter of that. And and in myself, I listen to so much different music and love customizing playlists to cater to my mood and different things like that. So when I get to go see bands that I love, from Leonard Skinner to the Dirty Heads, it's like getting to kind of watch my playlist and like real time. So, and I kind of think about that a lot, how I get to do that for somebody else. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'm gonna go out there and, and rock out and have fun and hang out with all my friends, our fans and stuff, and be that, for them. So it almost
Mm.
feels like an extreme honor, and definitely a calling, I think, for all of us
Yeah.
that yeah, because there's definitely a reciprocity aspect and a value exchange, with the bands and the artists and the crowd as well, because we're coaching baseball, we're running to paying bills and got life things going on. So we get to get out on that bus and go see our friends out on the road and play music for everybody, or get to step into a studio and make some music and have our escapism and provide that for somebody else. It's an amazing thing.
Man, I'm telling you, and I'll close on this from day one, man. From first album to what you recently dropped, and I can't wait. Never disappointed. Always, and it's always one of the things where I hate to say it, but we always expect you guys to be great because you've done it for so long, so met much great stuff, and then you exceed expectations every time. So, man, I can't wait to showcase. We'll definitely be sharing it, showcasing the heck out of it, streaming it, posting your videos. It's going to be all over our show. Don't you worry, man. It'll be here. So if you guys ever on the road, open invitation. You're welcome back anytime. If you guys want to stop by, maybe later on as on the tours progressing your things, come on back. We'll be glad to showcase the new stuff, and we'll promote the heck out of it for you. Okay. So,
Thank you,
man.
Josh. We appreciate that, brother.
Yes, sir, man. It's my honor, man. Thank you again, Sage. I'm so used to calling it Sage now at this point. Thanks for stopping by, man. It's good to see you. Thank you for what you do. Obviously, never going to stop rocking. Huge fan. So we'll give you some time back in your busy schedule. Look forward to catching up soon, and just keep on rocking. Okay. So.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you for
Yes, sir.
having me.
Of course, brother. Take care, man. Have a good one. Okay. We'll talk soon.
See you, Josh.
Yes, sir. Take care. So, guys, that's as I told you, one of my favorites. Just, gosh, I cannot say enough thank yous for that gentleman. Just a gentleman of the industry, one of the kindest hearted people you're going to meet. He will rock your socks off. So go check it out. There's a song they've recently done. It's called "Screaming at the Sky," and it's talking about mending fences of relationships, and just it's time. We need to forgive each other and move on. And there's enough bad in the world where we need positive, and we need people talking about moving and healing and forgiving and loving. And it applies to all of us. Probably someone in your life right now that you probably need to forgive, or maybe someone needs to forgive you. And that song, "Screaming at the Sky," check it out. I'm telling you, it's amazing. So, Steve, thank you again. Sage, that's what he goes by on his social media platforms. Blackstone, thank you for loaning him to us. Thank you, all of you guys, for what you do and making this possible. Dane sends his love. He'll be back for the next one. Got one more tonight. Coach Broxy from the Cavaliers stopping by, so we're excited to get to that. Thank you again for being a part of this. Don't forget that we love you. And as Dane would always say, thank you for listening.